Hi, this is Myra with Boutique Paint. I have already started making a mess and the project's not even started, but today we are doing some little potted trees. These are bottle brush trees, and I got them at Target. They come in different colors, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the tree from this base, and then I'm going to put it into a terracotta pot that I've painted, and we're going to add some molds and other embellishments. So I'll set him aside for right now, and we'll talk about how we're going to get that little tree to stay in the pots. I'm using terracotta pots, and these are things that I just pick up whenever I see, like this one has such a cool shape that I picked up a couple of them, and it was at I think it was at the Asian market of all places that they had these pots, but they had some way cool shapes, so I grabbed them. So we're going to do two. We're going to do one with snow, one without snow, one kind of shabby chic, one with color. And the base of it, we need something foam to put in to the bottom of these. And I cut this out of a packaging, and it's very messy. Very, very messy because you kind of get it everywhere. But basically what I did is I put the pot on top of it, I traced it, and then I took just a steak knife and cut it. And as I cut it, I kind of angled in just slightly so that it would fit in a little bit angled into there. Now, the other way you can do this is you can go to the dollar or whatever you have in your neighborhood and buy these, or a square, and you can cut them down that way. Either way, it's messy. These are messier because they have all these little things, or they're all these things pushed together, these little round things, and so they do make a mess and they're staticky. So this is a little cleaner, but you can just kind of see this isn't going to fit in there yet. This one should fit in this one pretty good, and you can just push, and this one will compact. I don't know if that one will. You just want to kind of squish it in there, and then take off any of the little extra pieces. This one, I think I'm going to have to trim down a little bit. So basically, let me move these a little bit. Just take a knife, and I think it's just towards the bottom because the top seems to fit just fine. And just cut off a little bit. And if you can get it to fit kind of snugly, then you wouldn't necessarily have to glue it. But you can also do that. Be careful of the glues you use because they will melt this stuff. Hot glue melts it. I found out the hard way. Oh, that's still E6000, my go-to glue, melts this stuff. Some of it, not all of it. So craft glues, or like tacky glue or whatever, Elmer's glue might work the best. Okay, let's see if that guy goes in now. That fits pretty good. Okay, clean up the mess I made. Now I got this green stuff everywhere. Have your vacuum ready. That's all I have to say. I have to sweep in here after this. All right. So I think I'm going to do the white one first, and I want to do some snow on this. So I had a bag of snow here 2 seconds ago, and this is just from the craft store, and there's all different kinds. And I'm going to take a piece of paper. I'm on top of myself right now. All right. I'm just going to put some of that onto a piece of paper. what we're going to do is we're going to take a paintbrush and we're going to put a little bit of our glue out onto, I'm putting it onto a plate. You can do a paper plate. I have some cheapy plates that I use and I just keep cleaning them up and reusing them. I think these came from the dollar store. So I'm going to goo up my brush, whoop, and I'm going to knock my snow all over the place. And I'm going to put a nice thick coat of snow or glue so we can put the snow on here. I'm going to put it on the edges too. And then I'm just going to roll that around in there. I think I want a little bit on the edges too. Now you could wait to do this step after you, and put it on after you do the molds. I just went ahead and did it now. I think I still want. All right, so I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to take my bottle brush tree, and I'm going to pour a little bit more glue out. And on this tree, I want some snow on it also. So I'm going to just take any sort of flat brush will do. And these come with snow on them. Let me show you. This one came with snow, but it's too small, so it's not working for what I want. I didn't have a small enough pot for that little guy, so I'm making my own snow, and I'm flinging glue everywhere too, because it's hitting the brushes and flinging. I can feel it hitting my hand. Okay, and then we're just gonna roll it around in the snow. So for the outside of the pot, I'm going to use some Iron Orchid design molds, and you could use Christmas ones. This is this year's Holly Lane and Jingle, or you could do something like the olive crest and do something like this, and then write something in the center like cheers or whatever. But any of the molds you can do this with. I'm going to start with, since I'm going to start with this one, I'm going to do these with the Holly Lane. And we're going to just add a little cornstarch. Let's see, which one do I want to do? Choices. Maybe I'll do this one, or do I want to do this one, but not maybe the entire thing? Yeah. That way it'll just kind of spread across it. So I think I'll stop it like right about there. Now you could do the whole mold and just cut it where you want it once it's on. But I think I can kind of eyeball this. I need more clay than I have in my hand, but we'll get started with this. You're putting the cornstarch in this to make it so it's easier to get the clay to release from the mold. You do not put the cornstarch in it if you are using resin, or you don't put it in if you're using like a sculpty clay. You don't need to. It's just the airtight clay because it's kind of sticky. I got this guy over here. I gotta get in there. I think I'm going to end it right there. And you can, once it's on there, you can adjust it of where you want it to stop. Just a little bit more. Sometimes it's kind of hard. It's nice because all of Iron Orchid Designs, their newer molds have this little edge, so it helps you find where, when you're doing the clay, it helps you find where the edge of the mold is. So you just take your finger and kind of manipulate it. Pull any excess off. And if you have any that are around here, just go ahead and let it dry. You can clean it up later. It'll just, you fold it and it'll, bend it up and it will pop right off. All right, that looks pretty good. I noticed that I'm definitely down further on this side, so I'm going to do that. And we will pop this little guy out. And you can either paint this once it's on your pot. Let's set this aside. So you could put it on there, glue it on there, and then paint it. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paint it flat, and then I'm going to glue it. Just because it'll be easier to not over paint since I'm doing a color. So I'm going to start with DIY's Avery. Oop. I'm just going to paint the leaves. And if you get these little berries, and just be really careful. You really want to, since it's wet, if you push too hard, it will squish your pattern because your clay is still wet. So you just kind of have to be delicate with it. Luckily, this has some pretty good deep grooves in it, so that's helpful. And I'm trying not to get the berries, but I'm also not going to worry about it a whole lot. Okay, so I finished painting this, and I took the hairdryer and just kind of went over it lightly. You can still probably see that it's shiny, which means those spots are still wet. But I wanted to get where the berries were so I could get in here with the red and get it painted. You can take the hairdryer to the air dry clay and have it get a skin. So keep the hairdryer on kind of a cool setting, kind of far away. Don't have it right down on top of it. And it'll help you get a skin on the top. And then that makes it easier to paint it. Also, as far as squishing down, you still have to be careful. Pull this up and carefully. You can see I didn't get really good on the edges. But since the pot is going to be white, I'm not too worried about it. Let's see, a little goober there. So we're gonna get this nice and glued up. And I am using the tacky glue for this. But pretty much any white glue will work for this. And sometimes there is a little bit of cracking because you're putting this on wet. Do I want it that way or do I want? No, I think I want it this way. Okay. There can be some cracking. what you do then, especially if it's something that's painted already, is you go in and you can take your paintbrush and just go in there and paint into the crack. If it really bothers you that there's a crack, you can take a little bit of the air dry clay, put it in there carefully, and let it dry, and then paint it. So I'm just pushing this down. And then we will bring in the white one here. And I'm going to use the bells for this one and the bow. So we'll get those cornstarched up. And these ones I'm going to keep white. Do I want 2 different bells, or I think I'm going to do 2 of this bell. Sometimes you just gotta kind of pounce the paint in there. This probably is not the best brush. Let's see if I can grab something different here. That's too big. This one's probably going to be too small, but it'll get the details in there. I can get the edges nicely. It's wanting to, yeah, it's either popping up a little bit or I didn't get it down all the way, or a little bit of both. But so far that's turning out pretty cute. So on this one, I'm going to go ahead and get the tree onto it. And basically what I'm doing is I'm taking a pair of needle nose pliers or a wrench, and I'm grabbing it at the base. I'm just turning this. And basically some of them, they were showing, I saw somebody actually unscrew it from the wood base, and I couldn't get mine to do that. So I just worried it basically off of there. I'm just going to push this in like that. It's looking pretty cute. Okay, so once again, I'm going to take glue and I'm going to put a generous amount on there. I think I'm just going to put some right on this. And then I'm going to put some moss. And this moss I got from dollar store or dollar whatever also. And I put it a little bit on the outside. And I'm going to put a little bit more than I did for the snow, just because the nature of this product, you want it to really be able to stick, or the snowflakes are smaller, so they just seem to stick a little bit better with less glue. Yeah. And this is messy too, obviously. basically you can stack it up there and then just press it. Get the edges and just press it in there. And then anything extra, you can just kind of shake off. And you can see not a lot is falling off. Now I got snow mixed in with my moss. So once again, we're going to, and I kind of mounted it up. Maybe a smidge more off. There we go. Oop, I got a naked spot. So we need to add a little bit more back on there. We're going to just push this guy in there. And then once you got this done, you could also add, I might put a little drop of glue on that to help anchor it. You could also put little, you know, added little figures on there, little penguin or whatever you might be able to find. Let's go ahead and pull that out and get some glue on it though. This one isn't as long as the first one. So for that, I am going to want to add, you want to get it centered, which I did not have it. And if you have a couple empty spots, you can always go in and add after it's dried a little bit. Just add a little bit more of your moss. I got an empty spot there. So I'll scoot him aside. So I'm just taking clear wax. And I go over gently because this is still, the clay's wet still. And you can always wait for it to dry. Yep. And I use these smaller brushes for waxing. This has got green on it. I'm not sure. Obviously, the last project I had some green on it. And I don't wash them very often. I just use them for wax. I have one that I use for clear wax, and then I have one that I use for white wax or white products, and then one for the dark. I don't know if that's going to clean up any. So then I'm going to take some Dark and Decrepit Dust by DIY. Oops. And I like to put a little bit on the paper, but not that much. And I just dip. This is a wax brush, my dark wax brush. And so it's still got some wax on it. And so I just pick up the Dark and Decrepit Dust with it. And spread it. Maybe a little bit around the edges. And the reason why you want to put the wax on first is because if you put on either wax, dark wax, or whatever color you're putting on, black wax, this is acting very strange. I don't know why it's kind of chunky. Usually it just smooths right out. I think it's, I used the bronze on it last, and I think there's still a lot of bronze in it, and that's why it's chunking up on me. So I'm just gonna, because like I said, I don't clean my brushes. Every now and then I do. I'll go in, take them in hot soapy water, a little Dawn. I'll clean them right up. But most of the time, unless I use it for something I'm not supposed to, like I did in last week's video, it's not a problem. So I'm just going to rub it out on the paper towel. But see, that's what it's supposed to be doing. instead of being chunky, which is what it's wanted. That's much better. So back to the clear wax. Had I not put on the clear wax first, it would be hard to rub some of this back. But because there's clear wax, I can take a paper towel, and because it's still wet, you just gently do it. But it'll take it down. See, just like that. And that way you can decide if you want more or less. It looks kind of strange because it's just abrupt right there. Then I'm going to just go around the edge, around the edges, the bottom. I take this. I think I'm going to get a little bit of clear wax on it just to help pull it back a little bit. You can see as soon as you get that clear wax on there, it pulls it. It'll pull it off. So if you put too much on and you go, oh my gosh, that's not what I want, just put a little bit of clear wax on and pull it off. But I wanted this to kind of be funky looking. And I think I got that. But it's all up to your taste. You don't even have to use the dark wax. You could do the same thing with this. This is still wet. But I could go in there and put a little bit of dark powder in there, or dark wax, just to kind of highlight so it goes in the crevices and would show a little bit of the lines. It's all a matter of personal taste. But that is it. That is our messy project for this week. If you have any questions about any of the products I used, you can go to our website at www.boutiquepaint.com. And thank you so much for joining me. Bye.